Well, we are back, and I can now breathe. But it's a story we hear time and time again. Online dating can be exhausting, overwhelming, and you know, to put it, my little brother who's about 23, to put it the way he said, online dating can be not so fun.
Oh my gosh, but it doesn't always have to be that way. The key is just figuring out what works and what doesn't. And a professor at Michigan State University published a study looking at just that.
Yes, so for those of you who are single and ready to mingle, we hope Professor Chopik's insight can give you some perspective. Take a look. 1 in 10 American adults have found themselves in a long-term relationship as the result of an online dating app. Whether it's Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, or Match.com, 1 in 10 Americans are swiping right and finding love. But what about the rest of us? Are we just out of luck? Or is the world just out of love?
You know, I've always really been fascinated by people.
Professor of Social and Personal Psychology at Michigan State University, Bill Chopik has this same question.
I kind of just got fascinated by people's lives and the things that they do, the things they don't do, the things that, you know, they hope for their relationships.
There's a million ways people can meet potential partners, but when it comes to online dating, it's an entirely different playing field. Chopik and his team took advantage of that with their study. Online dating is already complicated, but Chopik says if you think that's complicated, you should try studying it.
A lot of times we want to measure and study couples, and just you need two people to be part of that study as well. It's a little bit harder to get inside people's heads. It's hard to get them to admit things about their partner, about themselves, and that's a little bit different if you're just asking individual people about things.
Chopik and his team needed to find a way to emulate the interactions and movements of people on dating apps, so they created their own.
We built this program that's sort of like Tinder and like Bumble, where they'll make these split-second decisions about who to date. And we were able to kind of emulate that, and what we found is that people really make these decisions very, very quickly, sometimes less than a second, about who they want to date.
Now imagine, oftentimes people are scrolling through 300 to 400 people. Chopik wanted to know what makes a person swipe right, and more importantly, why?
The fact that you make decisions so quickly, we were naturally curious about what are the types of things that go through your mind in that split second.
The study measured all sorts of things about people to predict why they're swiping on certain people and not others.
We started out by asking them all sorts of things about their personality, what they ideally wanted in a relationship, if they feel comfortable with all the lovey-dovey, touchy-feely feelings that people have in relationships.
Then they used those scores to predict if they swiped right or left on certain people.
And what we found is that a lot of things that you told us about yourselves, like I'm really fun and nice and can get along with really easy, or I'm really, really anxious, or I'm a really outgoing person, it looks like not a lot of that stuff tended to matter in terms of who you matched with and who you swiped right on.
So what does matter?
One thing that was surprising about the study was just how much it was influencing who you said you found attractive. Obviously, we like really attractive people, but then there's also a few insidious things that people were kind of surprised to find, like people were more likely to choose people if they had the same race as the person. What's interesting is we tended to look longer at the profiles that we thought were more attractive. So it's really interesting where you'd assume that you just swipe right away.
And when it comes to differences between men and women, truth is, there aren't too many, but male participants did swipe right more often than women. So when it comes down to it, is online dating worth it?
It can be really frustrating among people who are trying to find a partner. But you know, it's something that's been true of all of human history, that we've been able to find each other, get together, and love each other. There's just something about humans that we're a social species and we end up together.